for the ultimate source of inspiration, knowledge, and entertainment, look no further. Network Kingdom is a unique platform that brings together experts from various industries. Through networking and collaboration, we create inspiring conversations that educate, entertain, and motivate our listeners. Whether you're a business professional, an entrepreneur, or simply someone looking to grow their knowledge base.
Hello, guys. It's yet another Wednesday, and I have a very exciting guest, a man of many parts. Indeed, like we know now, a lot of us do so many things outside what we studied in school. And my guest here today, Steven, happens to be one of them. Steven, it's so nice to meet you, my African brother.
Thank you. I'm so privileged to be on this podcast with you. It's a blessing. Thank you.
Thanks. So, Steven, tell us a little about you. I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Steven. I'm a British-Ghanaian. I was born in the UK, in London. But my parents and I left back to Ghana when I was 5 years old. So I had all my education in Ghana. I studied to become a pharmacist. And then I came back to the UK in the early 2000s. So I studied to be a pharmacist. So I was working as a pharmacist in the UK for 4 years. And then I began to feel a passion that I needed to do more. So one day I just said, okay, I'm going to listen to this passion. And I went and got a business degree. I went to do an MBA. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So, but I just studied anyway. So at the end of the MBA, I just launched a company called BlueCloud Health, which was meant to be a company that invests in healthcare businesses in Africa. So the first 3 or 4 years were very good. We traveled all around Africa, went to South Africa.
Can I interrupt you? What was the major driving force to forming that? Was it more because of your course of study or because of your passion?
So both. I've always loved Africa. I really love Africa. And I thought that if I'm going to do something in Africa, it's going to be something that obviously is related to my studies. So being a healthcare professional, and also when I qualified, when I did my MBA, Africa was booming. In those days, the democracy had started. I mean, this Nigeria, good luck, Jonathan.
So it was also the money. It was also the money.
Exactly. So the markets, the passion, and my skills came together to fight from BlueCloud. So yes.
Okay. So you were telling us about how you hit Africa.
Yeah. So the first 4 years were brilliant. We did a lot of good deals. We signed a contract for a $16 million project in Angola. We went to Botswana. We did some good work in Botswana. We did some good work in Nigeria. Actually, I worked with Darkstock. I don't know if you know Darkstock. They are a huge company in Nigeria, so I worked with them. We did a lot of good stuff. And then in the 4th year, everything went bad and everything just crashed. And it was not a good experience of that 4th year. But the first 4 years were very good.
That's one of the parts of this podcast that I really want people to listen to. So, I mean, how bad did it get?
So we signed a deal in Angola. And then we signed another deal in Francophone West Africa. So in Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, Benin, and Burkina Faso. So the one in Angola was meant to be a $60 million deal to build a huge center for diagnostics in Rwanda. There's only one in Rwanda, so we wanted to build a second one. And then the other deal was to launch BlueCloud owned medicines in Francophone Africa. So we signed the deals, got everything started, and then the UK partners disappeared. So we lost. They just disappeared. In Angola, there was a change in leadership, as you know. And then in Francophone West Africa, the guys just disappeared. We traveled to Abidjan. We traveled to see all the
A whole human being disappeared.
They just do us up to now. I don't know where they are. So the guys and they like went behind our back, and then went to another guy, even though we signed an NDA. And the guys in Francophone Africa just disappeared. So we lost a lot of money. I went bankrupt. And then I also made some stupid decisions, which I'll talk to you about later. And then obviously things went really bad. So for 10 years, we had no paycheck. I lost everything. It got to a point where I couldn't even afford money to even take a bus. It got really bad. But something in me, something was always there to let me know that I'm taking the right path. So for 10 years, my sister died suddenly. She just died. She was very healthy. She was in Ghana. I was still in the UK. And my brother and I flew back to Ghana to bury her. A very traumatic experience. But when we buried her, the very next day, I was about to come to Ghana, we came back to the UK. And then we had a call from this multi-million-dollar organization that wanted to work with us in BlueCloud. So next thing I knew, we'd signed $1 million deal after 10 years.
So you're kidding me now. So in 24 hours, more or less, you went from 0 to millions.
Correct. In 24 hours. And it was quite a shocking experience, really. So when that happened, I had been thinking of writing a book. But I thought, who am I? I mean, I listened to some of your podcasts, and like people like Mark Henson and Perdue, and all these guys have written all these books. I thought to myself, who am I to even think I can write a book? But I was secretly every morning, I mean, I read a newsletter where we talked about self-reflection and wake up in the morning to do so I started doing that. I was doing that. I woke up in the morning every day and I was writing a journal. And the journal was finished. I thought that was the book. But I had no confidence to actually write a book. So one day I was upstairs in our home in Plymouth, Southwest England. And from the stress that happened when we lost the deal, I had epilepsy. So I had a massive fit. Upstairs.
Sorry. I'm going to have to keep rewinding.
Yes.
So invariably, you're saying that stress can induce epilepsy.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Because when I first had an epilepsy, I was going for a consultant job. I was driving. I was fine, absolutely fine. And then the car, I suddenly had a fit in the car, and the car crashed, and I ended up in A&E. And when I came to, I had wires all over my head, and they were doing a check, and they could find nothing wrong with my brain. And it happened again 3 or 4 years later, through all the stress that I was going through. And again, I crashed another car, same procedure. We did a check on my brain, and there was nothing there. So for the next 4 or 5 years, I suffered lots of fits. I was having fits when I was walking, fits when I was running, fits in the bathroom. So the police became part of me. But for about 2 or 3 months, I was clear until I had that massive fits upstairs when I crashed into a radiator and injured myself, and I was bleeding everywhere. But then my wife and kids were screaming. I mean, they nearly called an ambulance. But then I went to told, I don't know whether it was a trance or I don't know what it was. But I saw myself holding this book in my hand. And the book was called Pay the Price. So when I came to, obviously I was bleeding everywhere. My wife just said to me, Steven, you're bleeding, we have to go to the hospital. I said, no, we've got to buy this book. I've got to buy this book. So I just went upstairs, dressed myself, got my computer out, and within 4 months, the book was done.
You really did pay the price.
I did.
You really did pay the price. I don't know what part is intriguing. Is it going from, I mean, I love money, so going from 0 to millions in 24 hours or less is a huge feat. And I'm just wondering, so, these stories always seem so far-fetched when you can't put a face to the name, or when you're, listening from a distance. From experience, I now know that stuff happens.
Yeah.
what I still struggle with, and what I know that a lot of people struggle with, is it's always easier to give this advice when you're not the one who's experiencing it. And even as a coach and a trainer, there's sometimes I go through stuff and I'm not able to say to myself, or even if I say it to myself, I'm not able to act it out, to put it into action, the things that I say to other people to do. And which is something that gives me joy about the podcast, because then I start to listen to a lot of other people's stories and then I can relate. So I'm just wondering, all those years when you couldn't even as much as afford a bus ticket, what kept you going?
Yeah, that was actually the essence of why I wrote the book. And I feel that as an entrepreneur, I mean, in my book, I talk about the honeymoon phase, okay? So the honeymoon phase is what the entrepreneur, say you get married, when you get married, and if you can afford it, you and your husband go on a honeymoon, don't you? You go to somewhere nice, spend some time together. What's the point of that? The point of that is that when you come back, you're going to feel the hard times. You know, when I went through these issues with the business, I made some bad decisions and some more bad moral decisions, and we had to go through counseling, my wife and I. When we went through counseling, the first thing the counselor asked me is, how did you feel when you got married? And that is where that's what came to me when I was writing the book, the honeymoon period. Okay, so as an entrepreneur, it is very vital that you nail down your honeymoon period. What's your honeymoon period? Your honeymoon period is your identity, your purpose, and your passion. These three things must be nailed down.
I need to take that again, because when you were saying your honeymoon period, honestly, I was thinking of a honeymoon period in my business, and I was thinking of any time that I just lived la vida loca. And to be honest, I couldn't come up with any time like that. So I was asking myself, does it mean I haven't gone through a honeymoon period? So what did you say the honeymoon period is?
Your honeymoon period is your identity as a human, as an entrepreneur, yourself as a person. I call the person. And then your purpose. And then your passion. If these three things are not solid in your life, you will fail. Okay, because you will hate, it's just like a marriage. You know, once you get married, you go through the lovely times, and you have a good honeymoon. Once you hit the hard, you will hit the hard times. Every business hits hard times. Now, 90% of first entrepreneurs fail. Now, in my opinion, why do they fail? Because the honeymoon period is not strong. Okay, if you have a purpose, why am I doing this? Why do I want to start this business? Do I have a passion for the business? And does this business link with me? Is it authentic to me? I mean, your newsletter is called Authentically Omu. That's what you call it, isn't it? So there's this business I'm doing. Is it authentically me? What is the purpose? And do I have a passion for it? Okay. So these three things is what I call your honeymoon period. If you nail these three things down, my next phase, what we call the formative phase, where you hit the pain. Okay. So if you don't nail these things down and you hit the pain, ultimately you will fail. Okay. It's like what you talk about, build your house on a rock. Okay. If the foundations of your business are not strong in yourself, eventually you will hit the pain. And when you hit the pain, it is that honeymoon period that will keep you going. So for me, the honeymoon period was very strong. When I went to business school, I done the research. I knew that Africa needed healthcare. I knew that I had the skills to do it. I had a passion for Africa. And my purpose was to bring healthcare to Africa. So all these things were solid. So I knew that my honeymoon phase was solid. So even through the 10 years I didn't make any money, I knew in my heart I was doing the right thing. So ultimately, the results came.
It's deep. I'm going to have to start searching in my heart to make sure that I do the right thing. So now, coming back to doing business in Africa and, like bouncing back and all that, do you think that your sister's death played a role?
Yes, absolutely. Because that was a new low. Like I said, we'd gone bankrupt. I'd crashed 2 cars. I'd made some bad moral decisions. My wife nearly walked away, and rightly so. And then so my sister dying was a really bad experience. It was horrible because she was my older sister. And to go back to see my parents crying, my mom was in tears because we had all left. She was the only one at home. So when we buried her, I thought to myself, this is it. I mean, this thing is not going to happen. I should just leave it and go back to my 9 to 5. That was the crux of it. So that phone call the next day that I had in meeting this business executive, yes, so if I didn't go to bury my sister, I would never have had that call because the person was in Ghana, and I would never have had this opportunity. And when I would probably, possibly be dead. Because it gets to a point in life where you think, I've had enough, And even though I knew that what I did was right, it got to a point where I felt my body I can't take this anymore. The pain was too much.
And it's scary, it's scary because I say to people that it just takes a second of bad decisions. And I know that a lot of people, just as we regret the decisions and we're thankful that we're on the other side, some people never really have the opportunity to regret the decisions.
Absolutely.
And so I call it like a 30, some people say it's 1 minute madness. I even call it 30 seconds because it's really so short.
Absolutely.
It's really so short. And there really is a thin line.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And building on that, the next phase of the book is called the formative phase, and that's where I talk about pain. And the thing about entrepreneurship and business is when you read a lot of books, nobody talks about the pain that you face. Very few. I'm sure we are the same. We've read hundreds of books of entrepreneurship, and they all emphasize the good parts. Follow your passion, step out of your comfort zone, be strong. Actually, when I'm talking to young people, I always say to them, those things are meant to encourage you, but don't think that
that's the way life is. Just like the Bible says, you can say to a mountain, move, and it would move. Yeah. It doesn't mean that you're going to stand in front of a mountain and just keep saying move. Yeah. There are other factors. Involved.
Absolutely.
And same with those business books, they tell you, walk in looking confident. And I say to some people, okay, you're walking in looking confident. Did they tell you they didn't do some homework in research and read? Or, you think just by looking confident, So those books are good, to be quite honest. I read a lot of them, but sometimes people don't realize that they're tools. Yeah. They're tools, and you need to do some other work, and it's not. Even at that, it's not a rosy ride. And every day you wake up, I just thank God because there are ups and downs. There are no guarantees, really.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And so when I read the book, I wanted to go into a deep dive on what is pain. What is pain in business? So I came up with a model, a brand new model, which I've been using to coach people and help people, and also it's in the book. And I talk about the color-coded flat response of pain. Okay, so I color-coded pain into 4 kinds. Okay, so there's the red flag pain, and bear with me, I'll explain to you what this means. The amber flag pain, white flag pain, and green flag pain. So there are 4 kinds of pain that every entrepreneur will go through. Okay. Like I said, they are red, amber, white, and green. Now, I use this as a traffic light system. Okay, so the red flag pain is the pain that we do to ourselves. It's what we call the pain of self-sabotage. I call it red because when you're driving and you get to a red light, you need to stop. Okay, so for me, when I went through all the bad pain, and I'm not afraid to share it here with you, Omu, I began to find some kind of comfort in pornography. Because things got really bad, I felt depressed. I felt that I tied my whole identity with the business. So when the business was going down, I felt that I was a failure. Exactly, and so I tied myself with pornography, and then it became a really bad habit. And it nearly cost me my marriage. So the only key for me for that kind of red playing was to stop it. I had to put in some drastic measures. I had to sign up for a software. I had to tell my wife. I had to tell my vicar, 4 close friends. I had to do accountability. and put in some strong things so that for the past 7 years, I've not touched it because I knew that was red flag. And a lot of us have red flag. It may not be as bad as pornography. It could be something like alcoholism, procrastination.
You know what I say about things like that? There's no good and bad. Some are just more visible to the eyes than others. So if it was alcoholism, you would immediately tell. With pornography, you might just see me in my study and say, oh, he's constantly looking at his computer, he's constantly walking. There are no telltale signs.
Absolutely. And that's correct, and then the next pain is what we call the amber flag pain. So the amber flag pain is the pain of waiting, okay? When you are driving and you get to a traffic light that is amber, you have to wait, okay? So my book, I talk about amber waiting. And most businesses, and I've done interviews with hundreds of entrepreneurs, and the average waiting time is between 6 to 10 years to absolutely succeed. That's the average time, okay? You see people that suddenly come out of the blue and they're making money. But when you actually interview them, the route started about 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago.
Yeah, you probably heard about them like 3 years, so you think it's 3 years, but they probably started the underground work.
Absolutely, yes, 100%. And in my book, I interviewed actually my friend in Nigeria called Lofty Inc. They do the Lofty Inc. Capital. There's a friend of mine called Ayudeji Bello. And I interviewed him for the book, and he said to me, yes, it took him 10 years. I mean, he lost hundreds of thousands of pounds. He went through crisis, darkness, depression. It took him 10 years to make it. And most of the entrepreneurs I speak to, yes, between 6 and 10 years, And actually, that amber flag pain is the pain of waiting. A lot of entrepreneurs can't make it there, and then they fail. Okay.
Because we're impatient.
Exactly. The next kind of pain that we go through as entrepreneurs is what we call white flag pain. Now, when you say a white flag, it means you surrender. Okay. So white flag pain is the unfairness of life. Okay. Now, for me, my white flag pain was epilepsy. Okay. I had epilepsy. And I couldn't drive. I could have fits at any time. I had fits at work. I had to call an ambulance, and I still have them now. And that is something I had to accept. Okay, some people's white flag pain is their sex. The fact that they are a woman like you. I'm sure you've had problems being a woman. You have to accept the fact that I'm a woman and work with what you got. You succeed, of course, but the first thing comes to accepting the fact that life is not fair. And many entrepreneurs struggle with this white flag pain. Sometimes things happen to them, they get cheated. Another white flag pain I had was that I got cheated. I went through fraud, through people who I trusted. That's unfair. That's white flag pain. You have to accept it. You work with what you got, and then you move on. And the final pain that every entrepreneur will go through is what they call green flag pain. Now, green flag pain is when you get to a traffic light and it's green, you keep going. Okay, you understand. Now, green flag pain is what people tell us. Okay, so your landlord will tell you, what you're doing is rubbish. It will never work. What you're doing, it will never work. This is silly. Okay, or you even tell yourself these things. That is green flag pain, and every entrepreneur goes through that. So these are the 4 pains that we will face. If you don't have your honeymoon period nailed down, and you finally hit this pain, you will fail. And that is where a lot of entrepreneurs fail.
So in your book, do you tell us how to, would I say, achieve this honeymoon period, or enjoy it or tolerate it or something?
Absolutely. So, and I go through, obviously it's difficult to go through the whole book on how we do it, but
I just want
I emphasize a lot throughout the book that before you start your business, you need to make sure that you know your identity ties in with your purpose, and that you have a passion for what you're doing. And if you're not careful, I even talk about losing your passion. Some people can lose their passion. Passion can be lost. You can't just say you have passion, it's going to be there. You have to find ways, and I give 5 ways. 5 ways. 5 ways in which you have to keep your passion topped up. Your passion must always be there. The moment you lose your passion, you've lost. It's like a fuel, like petrol in a car. You also have your purpose. So these 3 things your honeymoon are crucial. every entrepreneur that has succeeded has had these three things down. So even when they hit the bad times, when they hit the pain, when they hit the struggle, when they hit the whatever they're going through, they can look back and think, oh yes, I remember the day that I had a passion. I remember the day that I had a purpose. And that hopefully will keep them going through for them to succeed.
So now that you've gone through these phases, I know that I'm going to ask you all the things you did to, kind of stay sane. Yes, we've talked about all the shitty things that happened, excuse my French. But I know also that there must have been some intentional steps that you took. But before we get to that, I just want you to tell us a bit about where you are at now, what you're doing really. Are you still working with Africa? Are you still doing the healthcare stuff and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So once that thing took off, the first day took off, then obviously things began to move on. So and then obviously once I read the book, that also opened massive doors. So for instance, we are doing an entrepreneur summit in Africa next year. That healthcare summit next year. We're working with, we started deals now in Congo. We're doing some deals in Congo, in Rwanda. I talked to you about Ghana. We're doing some deals now in Nigeria. So once that door opens, and that's the thing, once one door opens, things begin to open up. And then I think as well that you become more hardened, because you've gone through the struggle, the pain, the issues. And I think these things are important. The struggles that we go through are important because they strengthen you and they harden you up. And they make you who you are, so that when the success happens, you don't get too proud. You don't get too over the top. For me, I know that, like I talked to you about red flag pain. Okay, I know that at every time if I'm not careful, I can go back into red flag pain. You see, if I'm not careful, if I don't deal with the issues in my mind, I can go back into green flag pain. So these things keep you humble. So even when the success comes, you find that you're able to take the success without getting too big in your shoes and too proud in your shoes. Because you remember that last week, Steven, you had an epileptic fits. I remember once I was having a meeting with some of my colleagues in my business, at a business meeting. I suddenly had a fit. I was on the floor. My mouth was foaming. So when you come to these things, humble you. So all the stuff, even though now we are seeing success. I mean, I was a judge last week for the UK's biggest entrepreneur fair. It doesn't get to my head anymore. It doesn't get to my head anymore because what I've been through as an entrepreneur for the past 10 years has taught me humility. It's taught me compassion. It's taught me patience. And so I don't regret all of these pains that I've been through. If anything at all, I celebrate them. Doesn't mean that I go about looking for pain. But it means that, yes, I celebrate all these things. And I think that these things are part of who we are.
So aside from selling your book, is there a training around your book or is there a workbook or anything like that?
Yeah. So we're working on that now, me and a couple of counselors. So we're going to do a whole training around the three phases. So the book is the honeymoon phase, the formative phase, and the legacy phase. So I've talked about the honeymoon phase, the legacy. So we're going to do a course on pain, which is one of the first courses that we'll be doing, and how to deal with the kinds of pain that we face. Because the thing is, when you face pain, you don't sit down and think about why am I going through this pain. But if you're going to class your pain according to the color, is it red pain? If it's red pain, what do I do with it? If it's white pain, what do I do with it? If it's so we're going to do a course on that. And also the book also talks about legacy. There are 4 kinds of legacy. So before you start your business journey, you should be thinking ahead. What kind of legacy do I want to leave? So we'll be talking about that. We'll do a course as well on legacy, on the 4 kinds of legacy that you can lead as an entrepreneur. So we are the question in the line, and hopefully by the end of this year, all these courses will come out.
Awesome. Speaking about pain, when I train on emotional intelligence, actually that was what helped me. I find out that a lot of times where we react, we don't reflect. So we don't stop to reflect, we just react, and
Absolutely.
that actually causes more pain.
Yes.
And I always say to them that if you're able to just take a second or two and process it, you would save yourself a lot,
Yes.
At the end of the day. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. I definitely agree with you. Definitely.
I'm looking forward to the training, and of course next year Ghana is round the corner. I'm certainly going to attend.
It's a privilege to have you. It's a privilege.
I'm certainly going to attend. So, I mean, how do we get the books? Is it on Amazon? Is there a Kindle version?
Yeah. I mean, I was quite shocked at the success of the book, because when it came out, I thought to myself, like I said to you before, I had no confidence. I thought, who am I to write a book? But the book's success has taken me by surprise. I mean, when it came out, it was number 1 in 18 categories on Amazon. I mean, it's never, the publishers were shocked. They've published hundreds of books, and that's never happened. It was number 1 in things like music, poetry, philosophy. So it really took off. It's available everywhere. It's available on Amazon. It's available in Waterstones and some shops in Waterstones. It's available in Kindle. We're coming out with the audio version next year. It's available Barnes and Noble, wherever you get your books. It's available.
So that means that even if I'm a bit impatient when it comes to a book that I want to read. So if there's anyone like me out there that wants to read it immediately, the person can download the Kindle version.
Absolutely. Actually, the Kindle version seems to be most popular in the US. And in the UK, for some reason, people prefer the paperback.
The traditional.
But the Kindle,
I want to hold my book.
But the Kindle has really taken off in the US and even in the UK. So
I love to read my books, and nothing gives me more joy than to have my books autographed by the authors. So everywhere I meet an author, even if I don't have the book on me, I start looking for where to grab the book.
Yeah, that's one of the privileges of being an author, being able to autograph people's books. That's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm sorry about your sister. I know that. I mean, that was must have been a lot of pain for the family. But then again, I'm sure she's smiling down at you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So can you at least hold up the book, tell us some parting words about the book so that we can get the book. I was impatient. I know you promised me a copy, but I was impatient, and I confess I had to go to Kindle. I was like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. How does he think I'm going to wait for this book to arrive? So let me just have an idea of Kindle.
Yeah. Thank you.
So waiting for my copy.
So part of it with the book is when you have your honeymoon period nailed down, you shouldn't give up. That's basically the essence. And then also, so there are 3 things I want to talk about really, just briefly. The first thing, obviously, the honeymoon period. The other thing I've mentioned as well is what you call the legacy. Okay, so every entrepreneur must think about their legacy.
Yeah.
And a legacy is not just leaving something behind. There are 4 kinds of legacies that you can leave behind as an entrepreneur. The first kind of legacy is what you call a philanthropist. Okay, so that's the legacy that you do good. And people like, we talk about people like Jimmy Carter. Now, in the book, I talk about a philanthropist as someone who has done well for humanity, but hasn't done so well in the business. So someone like Jimmy Carter, the president of the UK, of the US, 39th president, he wasn't very good as a president, but he's been brilliant as a philanthropist. Okay, so one way as an entrepreneur that you can leave a legacy, even if the business doesn't work out, you can still be a good philanthropist. Okay.
Yeah.
The second kind of legacy is what we call a purist. Okay, and that is by someone.
Sorry?
A purist. Purist. A purist.
Okay.
That legacy, a typical example is Steve Jobs. Okay, so Steve Jobs' legacy is Apple. When you think of Steve Jobs, you don't think of somebody who was kind, who cared for the environment, you don't think about that. Steve Jobs was Apple, and that's it. So another way that you can leave a legacy is through your business.
Yeah.
The third way of leaving a legacy, which is called a profligate. But the profligate is a wasted legacy. Okay, that's where
You
you
what?
fail. It's wasted.
Oh
That's
my
where you
goodness.
fail in your business and you fail as a human being.
So it's no legacy.
Yes, but people still think about you, isn't it? So legacy can be negative or positive.
So
that's
think about it in a negative way.
in a negative way. You've left a negative legacy. You see, and then the final legacy is the pathfinder. So the profligate is when your red flag pain overtakes you. Okay, you think about people like Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Elizabeth Holmes. These are all people whose red flag pain overtook their lives and destroyed them. You know, Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile, very intelligent, very kind, but his love for underage women ruined his legacy. See, so if you don't deal with your red flag pain as an entrepreneur from the beginning, that red flag pain eventually will destroy you and you leave a profligate legacy.
Oh, wow.
And then the final legacy is called the pathfinder. The pathfinder is the legacy that we should all, as entrepreneurs, aim to have. The pathfinder is an entrepreneur who has built a brilliant business and has also built a brilliant thing for humanity. Okay. Now, a typical example is Bill Gates. Okay. He's done Microsoft, brilliant business, and he's also done the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Yeah.
Yes. Same in the book, I use Strive Masiwa. Strive Masiwa is an African from Zimbabwe. He's built Econet. Actually,
Yeah.
all the Wi-Fi that we have in Africa is probably because of Strive Masiwa. Okay, so he built Econet, Cassava Technologies, and he's also a pathfinder. He's educated over 250,000 African orphans and taken them to university. So if you want to be a good entrepreneur, the legacy that you should leave behind should be a legacy of a pathfinder. Successful business, but also a brilliant human being. And that is the essence of the book.
Amazing. Oh, what a way to come to an end. I really have enjoyed this conversation with you, and I'm sure we can go on and on. And hopefully, I always say that we'll have you come back again when you write your second book.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you're very nice. You're a very easy person to talk to, and I'm really honored that you chose me to be on your podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, guys, you want to go to Amazon and check out Steven's book? I will put the link in the profile, and the book is called, Steven.
It's called Pay the Price: Creating Entrepreneurial Success Through Pain, Passion, and Purpose.
Absolutely. So let's go out there. We definitely must pay the price. I always say there's a price tag attached to everything. You have to pay the price somehow, somewhere. So from us here, it's bye. See you next week. I'm out.
You've been listening to Network Kingdom with Omo Obulor. Remember, if you cannot see where you're going, ask someone who has been there before.